Let's review our Sunday school lesson for today. We're in the fall quarter for September, October, and November entitled God's Law is Love. We're looking at the law as it relates to faith in Jesus. And we're considering some of the rigid observance of the law of Moses that people showed in comparison to faith in Jesus following the law of love and compassion. Our lesson for our unit for today is unit number 2 for October, entitled Faith Triumph Law Fails. We're looking at the book of Romans and the book of Galatians today, and the inability of the law to give us anything spiritual and the importance of having faith in Jesus. Our lesson for today, lesson number 7 for October the 15th, 2023, entitled One's Faith is the Key. Our printed passage is Galatians 2, verse 11 through 21. Our text today is the Apostle Paul in the book of Galatians, recounting a situation that happened in his first missionary journey. Many don't acknowledge this as the first missionary journey, but this is one of his journeys in which he went down to Antioch. And you remember Joseph, who the disciples called Barnabas, invited Saul to come and to help him, extended to him that arm of fellowship when others refused to fellowship with him because of his past of destroying the church. But Barnabas opened up the door and encouraged him to exercise the gift that God had given to him. And in Antioch, they did great much teaching and making many disciples. And it was there that the disciples were first called Christians in Antioch. What a powerful move of God was going on there. There's a situation Paul recounts that when Peter came and saw the hand of God and everything that was going on, he rejoiced. He was glad. And the fellowship was true. What was for so long them separated, Jew and Gentile, together they came as one there in Antioch. They fellowshiped together, they ate together, they relaxed together, they studied together, they worshiped together. They did all these things together. Unity, how beautiful it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. And that's what they had, unity, until some of those select Jews, and I'm sure they were part of that group that was trying to catch Jesus, until some of them came, and to appease them and to please them and to put on an outward show for them, Peter started acting funny. Instead of that spirit of unity going forth, he started separating himself from the Gentiles. For the Apostle Paul, one who is now defending the faith where he once tore it down, he called a spade a spade. He told Peter to his face that you're not right. And so many times we, because of the law, act one way when God calls for us to act another way. So many ways we put on fronts and shows for people while we disappoint God. And that's what Peter did. Peter disappointed God. But Paul is telling the Galatians, as he told Peter at that point, listen, we ought to be dead to the law. All these teachings that non-Jews got to go through, all these steps to be accepted by God. Listen, we ought to be dead to the law. And we ought to be alive through Christ who lives in us. And so one of the things we got to stop doing in verse number 18 is stop trying to rebuild what God has already torn down. And this is what Peter was doing by going against what he believed, because your faith is important, because what you have faith in and what you believe in is what you practice. And so he began to practice that which God tore down, the things that separated us. He removed that wall of partition that kept us separated. He brought us together, unified as one body in him. And so what do we need to do? Verse number 14, as we bring this lesson in for a close. This is what we need to do. Paul says in verse number 14, we need to walk uprightly according to the truth of the gospel. That's it. No more putting on fronts, no more putting on shows, no more doing such and such for appearances. We need to walk uprightly and justly before God according to his word. When Christians begin to do that, we can make an impact around the world. We stop putting on facades and putting on masks and putting on shows and performances, and we start living what we preach. Then we can make a difference. Thank God for this lesson on today.